morning.
Oh, dearie me.
Good morning, good morning.
Good morning, Nick.
Good morning, Nick.
Hi, Nick.
Good to see you.
Good morning.
Good morning, Michael.
Good morning, everyone.
Morning, Michael. Morning, Andrew.
Andrew.
Morning, Susan.
Morning.
Leon.
Morning, good morning.
Morning, Z.
Morning all, how are we doing?
Good morning.
Morning, Scott.
Morning.
Hiya.
Hello.
Hiya, Susan. Oops. It's got Susie and Susie just trying to get their systems sorted.
I just found out it's my 27th wedding anniversary.
What, today?
Oh, that's a shock. There we go.
That's the sort of thing you say when you're divorced.
Yeah, absolutely.
The
At
thing
what
is,
point
though,
over the last 27 years have you had a reminder about this?
quite a few. The thing, we both forgot, though.
Oh,
Sherry just
that's
said,
not
"Oh,
quite
right."
as bad.
oh, God.
Morning,
I've got-
Z.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations.
You get a lot less for murder, I'm sure.
I did remember, well, we talked about it last week. I remembered last week. And then we agreed not to do much because it's I just got her a lot of stuff for her birthday, which was last week.
Oh, cool.
Maybe that's why I forgot, because it wasn't on my mind. I didn't have to get anything.
Yes.
I'll take her out tonight.
Perfect. Morning, Sue.
Morning.
Good morning. And good morning, Susie. Good to see
morning.
you. You feeling
Nice to see
better?
you, Susie. How you feeling?
Not great. I'm only going to be on for about an hour because I need to go to the doctor's later. So
Okay.
Yeah, you're
I don't know what's going on with my video. I might just leave it off just now.
Yeah.
All
Got
right.
Leon
Okay,
disease.
no worries.
You're obviously
Morning,
sitting
Penny.
too close to him.
Morning.
Penny.
They've got Leon's disease.
Yeah, she has. It's that dodgy video. He infected people. He sat too close to him. We should have put him in a separate little screen all of his own.
We could be rude to him today, Sarah, because it's their last day.
Yeah, exactly. They're not coming back next week. This is good.
I could be in my own breakout room alone.
Oh, Michael can't hear us. Why is that? What's up with your audio, Michael?
Turn the volume down.
Have you got the volume down on your system? Let me. Lie.
Nobody's talking, Michael. Can you, in case you think you still can't hear us.
This has definitely got serious flashing issues. Wow.
This time of the morning, that is a worry.
That is a worry. Morning, Lisa. Good to see you.
Morning, guys. Everyone
Good morning.
Yeah,
Good.
Morning, good morning.
Okay, so Michael has gone out and come back in. Let's see if that works better. Is that better, Michael? Can you hear us, Michael? Got nothing. Nothing at all. No. Yes, Sam, you can definitely attend a different day. That's not a problem. You can come back on the next time round. So no problem, Sam, if you need to leave. That's cool. We'll see you soon. Michael, can you hear us yet?
Yeah.
Michael? Can you hear us, Michael? We can hear you. I heard you cough.
Can you hear me, Dyer, Sarah? I
Yes.
can't hear any of you. I just can't get my volume on for some reason.
Is it a computer issue or is it on the Zoom issue? Oh, you can't hear me. Why am I saying that?
Can you hear me? Sign language?
Do that. Yeah.
Anyone good at sign language?
Yeah.
But can he read it? Right, guys, while we're waiting for Michael to sort himself out, you may remember way back on module 1, seems a long time ago now, doesn't it? I asked you to scale yourself on a scale from 0 to 10 on how confident you would be if somebody was to ring you up today and ask you for instructor training. Where 0 is, please don't ring me. I can't talk to anybody. I'm not ready for this. And 10 is, yep, bring it on. I'm ready for this. I'm up for it. I'm really confident. Could you just pop in the chat, please? A number from 0 to 10. And we'll see where we are.
Lisa's at 8. I'm sure she was at 9 at the start, Di. What have we done?
Frightened her death.
Oh, nice, Scott.
Ooh.
Like it. That's good, Susie and Andrew. Oh, we haven't got anything below a 7. This is looking good. Nice, Nick. Oh, Jeanette. If you didn't have a 10, I was going to shoot you. You do know that, considering how many ADIs you've actually got qualified.
Jeanette,
for.
when I retire, you're doing this job, okay?
Yeah, absolutely.
So I'll see you here for the next 30 years, Di.
Yeah. Oh, thanks.
Well, after the government yesterday, no one's going to retire, are they? I think they've just
Absolutely.
said everyone's got to stay working until they're 94 or something, isn't it? Unless you've got £1 million in your pension pot,
Yeah, if
then
you're on 4
you
grand
can
a
add a
week
bit more
pension,
to it, tax free.
Yeah, 4 grand a week pension's all right, isn't it? I can live with
Yeah.
that.
Oh,
Bring it on.
can't make it up.
Well,
Anyway, Di. So they're all looking quite good.
yeah. Yeah, this year is actually my 40th anniversary of being an ADI.
Jeezy peeps. That's a lot.
I thought you was going to say 4 years old.
I've more than half my life.
Yeah, you remember when they used to walk in front with a red flag? And how to crank the car up. Yeah, that used to be the show me tell me how to crank the engine.
We used to do that in my neighbour's car going to school, crank the engine in the morning.
No, I suppose when you started, it was still manual choke, though, wasn't it? In those
Yeah,
days?
it was.
Oh,
Yeah,
man.
Yeah. So you
Yeah.
probably had to instruct all of that.
It's all right if you're sort of the second pupil of the day. That's fine, but the first one, yeah, definitely.
Mhm.
Yeah. So yeah.
I think Michael is trying to leave and rejoin.
Okay, that's cool.
See how he gets on. Okay,
Well,
module 12 and 13.
Well, before we get there, looking at those scores, great job, because I think on day 1 we had a few, below 5 on 5, the lower numbers, and it's lovely to see that you've all crept up there. Those of you who are still on 6 or 7, don't worry about it. Yeah, the great thing about this course is you won't feel confident until you actually deliver
Done it.
That's a fact. All right. So you might feel a little bit like that at the moment because it's all in your head. You haven't been out in a car with a PDI to try it out. But all you've got to remember, guys, you've only got to stay one step ahead of your PDI. You don't have to know the whole course. You've now been familiarized pretty much with the whole course, but you only have to stay one module ahead of your first PDI. And if you work through it with them, it'll all come rushing back. Stick to the notes and you'll be absolutely fine. And if you're not, ring me.
You're
Yeah,
always here.
ring me or Jeanette. It's fine.
Yeah, I'll put Jeanette's number in the chat. Everyone can ring her any time of the day or night, especially when she's in Tenerife.
No, seriously, guys, please contact me. Yeah, anything to do. I'm going to make this clear to you now. All right, if there's anything technical, don't come to me because I haven't got a clue. That's who you need to see, Sarah. All right. So anything technical, anything to do with dual branding or emails or anything like that, you need to speak to Sarah. If it's anything to do with actually in the car training, then you come to me. All right. I am your go-to, and I'm very, very, very happy to talk to any one of you. And seriously, at any time, as long as it's not between 2 o'clock in the morning and 8, that's fine. All right. But if you sort of wake up, oh God, I don't know what to do here, or I'm not sure what to do there, please give me a call. I'm very happy to talk to you. Or come back on the sessions again. That's all good as well. Right. So today we have module 12 to finish off the course book. And then we are going to have a look at module 13. So let's have a look at module 12 first. So course books first, all the way back to page 8. Okay, so compared to module 11, they're getting quite a bit. They're getting an email with a link to a webinar on how to prepare for the session, an email with a link to 2 webinars on the GROW model and use of authentic, neutral and non-judgmental communication. Get the tongue ring on that. And an email with a link to a video on the GROW model. So they've got 2 webinars and a video to watch on the GROW model, and the use of authentic, neutral and non-judgmental communication. Okay, right, so let's have a look at module 12 in the course book then. We'll have a look at the content. So we're starting to get quite used to those first 3 bits of the module. Develop your driving skills, develop your ability to give a commentary, and develop your instructional ability. You will also be planning a lesson on dual carriageways, completing exercise 9, know your resources, watching 2 videos on the GROW model, and watching a video on the use of authentic, neutral and non-judgmental communication. And then we have the usual blurb about planning lessons. Turning over the page, we then have an outline for in-car session 12. And then turning the page again, you will see there we have exercise 9, know your resources. This is a great exercise for them. Because what we want them to do is think about all of the things they're going to be teaching and to find the most appropriate resources or publications which would support their lesson delivery. And we want a preferred reference and alternative reference. Okay. So the reason this is a great exercise for them to do is because it's the same as us, isn't it? If you're trying to Google something, or you're trying to look in a book for a particular thing, you come across other things. Yeah. And it actually tops your knowledge up all the time. So this is great for them. So we've given them all the lesson categories, and we want them to find a preferred reference and then an alternative reference for all of those subjects. And it goes over the page as well. And then if we continue, we then have 2 part 3 assessment sheets. So that gives us a clue. We'll probably be going to use one of those in the in-car session. And then the last page in module 12 is the action plan. They've got a fair bit to do on this last session. All right, so let's have a look at the guidance notes. So, learning outcomes of in-car session 12. Thank you, Jeanette. What you're way ahead of me. I thought you'd be bloody rude then for a minute.
No, fingers were round the right way.
Okay. So, learning outcomes. We've got 3 learning outcomes, plus what to practice when we go home. And they are how to deliver value for money and ensure learning takes place using dual carriageways as a platform. And what Jeanette was referring to, how to maintain an appropriate non-discriminatory manner throughout the session, and how to encourage the pupil to reflect on their own performance at the end of the session. Do we all recognise there are 2 competencies? Yeah. Everyone got those?
Yep.
And they are the last 2 competencies in teaching and learning strategies. So by the time we finish module 12, we would have looked very in depth at single competence of the standards check in part 3. So they'll have a good understanding of what they need to do in order to meet those competencies and deliver a value for money where learning takes place and where the car is kept safe. Right, okay, so let's have a look and see how we're going to deliver this in. And you are going to be doing quite a lot of work today, guys. I've warned you that now. Right, so we need to discuss the progress over the last 2 weeks and look at exercise 9 in the course book, see how they've got on with it. You could even open a page of reference, you know, get whatever reference they've got, just open the page and see if it actually matches. Just sample it, you don't have to do all of them, but just sample it and make sure you know that it is relevant to what they want. And then we will have a look at this first learning outcome. And the first learning outcome is how to deliver value for money and ensure learning takes place. Now, we want a complete lesson delivered to us because they have now gone through all of the competencies except for the last 2. And one of those is actually a summary at the end of the lesson, isn't it? A reflection at the end of the lesson. So I think, how many have we got? 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 11. Yeah. So I think if we have 3 groups of 3, Sarah, and 1 group of 2, that'd be good. Okay, so in your groups, we would like one of you to role play the PDI, please. Okay. And the other 2 can work out between you how you are going to structure this trading session. Okay. Where there are 3 of you, you can work together. Where there's only 2 of you, one of you would be the PDI. We just drop somebody.
Andrew.
Got very worried about a breakout room.
He got scared, didn't he?
Who did we lose? Andrew.
Andrew, yeah.
Where's Leon then? Oh, you're there. Sorry, Leon. You're hiding in your black jumper.
Because he wasn't
Well,
flashing.
flashing, that's what it was.
Yeah, if he was flashing, you'd know.
Okay, so he might come back, Sarah. If he does, then
Move him into one of the groups.
so it might sort of mix it up a little bit now. So we had 3 of 3 and 1 of 2, didn't we?
Yeah, so we've got 2 3s and 2 2s now.
Perfect. Perfect. Good. Okay. So where there's a group of 2, one of you is a PDI, one of you is a trainer. Okay. I would like you to play the part of a PDI. Okay. So the trainer can sort of work out how they need to structure this session. You can, of course, discuss it as you go. All right. If whoever's playing the PDI thinks that's not quite what I wanted, or I would have maybe done it slightly different, talk about it. All right. This is a time for you to discuss how you're going to structure it. We've done these many, many times. You've got your guidance notes in front of you that will help you. All right. Go by your guidance notes. Yeah. Jeanette, whoever group you're in, I suggest you're the PDI.
Oh, thanks very much, Di.
That's right. I wouldn't like them to have an easy time, you know.
Can be difficult, no problem.
All right, so you all understand what you need to do.
Yeah.
This is a time for you to have a go. There is nobody's going to say you did what. All right. This isn't what it's about. This is just a chance for you to practice, with supporting people around you. Okay. When you come back in your groups, we'll have a discussion about it and see how you felt, how it went. And if you had any difficulties, what you found easy, what you didn't find so easy, what you think you did well, what you didn't think you did so well, what you do next time, all of that sort of stuff. So we'll have a bit of a reflection afterwards. All right. Now I'm going to give you plenty of time to do this. So I'm going to give you a good 20 minutes. All right. So try to get the PDI, discuss between you first, how are you going to do it? So basically the trainer has got to go through those competencies of lesson planning and risk management with the PDI before this training session starts, doesn't it? Yeah, because you've got to do the same as a PDI, haven't you? So what's your goal today? How do you want to go about doing this? Have you thought about somewhere you'd like to practice this? Yeah. This is how we're going to manage the risk. This is how you'll know when I'm in role and out of role. Yeah. And then you will go into role, or just before you go into role, you'll say to the PDI, I'd like you now to have a conversation with me about the lesson today, about what I want to achieve. But the platform, guys, is dual carriageways. Okay. I'd also like you to consider what might require you to adapt the lesson plan, both as a PDI and as a trainer. What might cause you to adapt the lesson plan to either make it easier or make it a little bit more challenging. All right. And have a little think about how you as a trainer are going to manage the risk. All right, so you've got to really start to use your brains and put your heads in that trainer role. All right. Has anybody got any questions before we disperse? Are you all okay? All right. Fabulous. All right. We'll see you in 20.
You all right?
Hi.
How are we doing, guys?
All right, how are you?
Oh,
There's three of us there.
I'm on the mend, but I'm not 100%.
Yeah, me too. I'll wait at the doctor's soon.
What is it that you've had?
Oh, I don't know. I'm just I've found something, so I just want to get it checked out. So
Okay.
but also just feeling generally crap, to be honest.
Yeah, I felt like that since last Tuesday.
Yeah.
It's like I don't know. It's difficult to explain. It's not. It's I'd say it's worse than a cold and a flu.
Yeah.
And it just lingers on, and it just doesn't get better. This is what I've experienced. It's been horrible.
Yeah. So tired and just, anyway.
Well, they put us together in a good group, haven't they? Then.
Haven't they?
Yeah. Sorry, Sue.
It's all right, don't worry.
Oh dear.
I've not been
Okay.
that great either, but I don't know whether it's that time of year or what, I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is something else. This is something different. Not had anything like this before.
Yeah.
Right. So
Not good.
no, well, we're still here, aren't we? So
We are. I feel totally unprepared for this one. I didn't come to my last one, but would that have made a massive difference?
I don't think so.
No.
No,
Yeah,
I
I'm the
don't.
same. I mean, I've listened in the last couple, but I've not really participated very much.
No, I either.
No, I'm not really too sure what they want us to do. What do they want us to like deliver a session basically, or talk about
I
how we're
think
going?
it's like, I think it's like having like a bit of a try before you actually do.
Yeah, like so you take the role of like somebody will play PDI, somebody will play the trainer. And
Yeah.
just, imagine you're sitting in the car and
Yeah. That's how I.
basically, yeah.
So
Yeah.
you're delivering a session on dual carriageways,
Sorry?
isn't it?
Yeah.
So I suppose you'd want to just get them to start a lesson as they would any other kind of topic, wouldn't they?
Yeah.
So if the platform is dual carriageways, you'd perhaps want to have a conversation about what is it specifically with the dual carriageways that they'd like to have a look at. Are we talking about somebody who's been on dual carriageways before, or
Yeah.
are we talking about somebody who's going on them for the very first time?
Yeah.
So that would
So I think the
PDI then.
what was that, Sue? Sorry,
Who wants to be the PDI?
I don't mind doing the PDI role.
Okay. And then me and Z will be. We get to share Z at being trainers.
nice.
Oh my god. We can give it a go.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
Right,
Okay.
Cooper, that's enough.
So we need to establish.
When will Susie know when we're in roll initially? What do you want to say right, we're in roll now?
One of us has got to scream at the top of our voices.
Yeah.
That's the signal, Susie. Okay.
That's
Okay,
the signal,
no
Susie.
worries.
Like that.
Turn your volume down, I think.
It's all right. It's down quite low anyway. It's fine.
We'll just say in roll and out of roll. I think
Yeah.
that makes the most sense.
Yeah.
So this session is how to maintain an appropriate and non-discriminatory manner throughout the session. So dual carriageways is essentially the topic of the lesson, but the focus then needs to be on non-discriminatory manner throughout the session. So it needs to be linked to that, doesn't it? Firstly.
Yeah. And also making sure that its value for money and learning takes place. So I suppose you would ask me what the goal is today and how I intend to achieve this, where we're going.
Yeah, so if we start with
manage
that,
the risk. So as trainers, you would say, how we're going to manage the risk between us, sort of thing. So
yeah, should we do set a goal first?
Yeah.
By the time this session, am I right in what Di just said? Is that they would have done all what we've got so far?
Yeah.
So the quite far on.
Yeah.
This is like, I think, the second to last.
Yeah, this is the second last two competencies on the marking sheet. So they've done everything else. So the PDI should
be
able to plan a lesson.
Right.
Right, sorry, Cooper, stay there. Stay there. Sorry, the dog's trying to interfere.
All right.
Guys.
That's all right. That's okay. We can allow him.
He just sees me face, look. Yeah, so the goal, so I suppose the goal would be, I don't know.
It says on here,
stay there.
Joining and leaving the carriageway, maybe. It just gives a suggestion on here.
Oh, does it?
Yeah, the trainee might like a demonstration. You might ask for a demonstration, or you might want to have a go yourself, or you might want to give a bit of commentary.
Right. The trainer might, the
Like,
trainee might
yeah.
like to drive themselves, experience joining and leaving a dual carriage. We might do this in silence.
So you go.
So
Yeah.
are we saying that the trainee then is going to be somebody who's never driven on a dual carriageway before?
Could do, couldn't we?
Yeah.
Like,
So,
Remember, the trainee is the PDI, not the pupil.
yeah.
So PDI will have driven on a dual carriageway.
Yeah.
yeah.
It's still difficult to get your head around that.
I
isn't
know,
it?
I know. So the trainee might like you to role play the pupil again. There are a number of various roles you can play, different types of pupil.
So the girl could be joining and leaving, couldn't it?
Yeah,
Goal could be.
yeah. Okay, so that's my goal. Joining and leaving dual carriageway
Okay.
Okay.
with a like this is the pupil's first lesson on dual carriageway.
Got you.
Right.
Okay.
So joining and leaving first lesson.
Okay. So
So, and then where are we going to achieve this, or how are we going to achieve this? So
Oh no, you can't really use SEDS for this, can you?
no,
Not really.
take you out in a minute.
But it's the first time, innit? Come on, Suzanne, get a grip of yourself. So you can't.
Well, it doesn't have to be the first time. I suppose we could say we've had a lesson on dual carriageway, but we've not really covered.
Ben.
You can't do a dual carriageway and not cover slip roads, can you? It's
I don't-
quite difficult because where we are, you join the dual carriageway from roundabouts
Yeah, you do near me.
most of the time, so you have to kind of drive right up the dual carriageway to come off and go back on again.
Yeah, that's what I do it like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Were you saying that you want to have a go yourself? Or are you saying you want to have help? Or are you saying you want a demonstration? How are you?
I think I would like.
hang on a second
Right.
before we continue, Susie. If you're the PDI,
Yeah.
then we are the pupil, aren't we? When we're
Well, you're
enrolled,
the trainer. These are the trainers.
we're the
Right.
trainers, but when we're enrolled, we're
You're the pupil.
We're the pupil, aren't we?
Yeah.
So it'd have to be a conversation that you would need to have, I think, with us as the pupil, isn't it?
Yeah.
Would we do that before we went enroll though?
Yeah.
Well,
We may discuss some bits, I don't know, of the actual session, because obviously it's a session for the trainee, isn't it? As a PDI.
Yeah. So I need to be discussing with you guys out of role what the goal is and what we're going to be achieving, how I would like to do it.
Yeah, I was meaning, I thought I was doing it wrong then, sorry.
No, it's all right. It's just getting this whole, getting your head round it.
Because when we get in the car with the trainee, we'll be having a conversation out of role first, won't we?
Yeah.
So we need to establish with the PDI what the goals are, what we would normally do with a normal learner.
Yeah.
And then when you go into role, that's when the PDI then has that similar conversation with us as the learner based on what we've already discussed.
And then we become the PDI and they become the trainer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fine.
Right.
I think we've finally got it right way around. How much time have we got left? 10 minutes.
9 minutes. Okay, so me as the PDI then, so I should be asking you, or I should be speaking to you as the pupil. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think.
So initially, we need to be having that conversation with you.
Yeah.
So what is it that what goal would you like to have?
Yeah.
Or what is it that you want to achieve?
Yeah. So you decide. Yeah, you decide what you're doing, and then Okay, so we covered briefly dual carriageway last week. So, what's your goal for today? What would you like to achieve out of the lesson today? What's your goal?
Okay, so the goal. So we mentioned dual carriageways, wasn't it? We mentioned.
Yeah, dual
Um,
carriageway, joining and leaving.
Yeah, so I wanted to have another look at joining and leaving dual carriageways. I
Okay.
wasn't very confident when I was joining, particularly.
Okay.
So is that because of looking for a gap, or is that because of the speed?
Yeah,
Or
I was struggling to find a gap.
Okay.
I couldn't tell when it was a good time to join or not.
Okay.
So if you could link that to how do you do that when you're normally moving away? How do you look for then when you're stationary? That's what I do with mine.
Yeah.
And then bit as you moving.
Yeah.
Or when you want to change lanes normally, or if you're overtaking something, how do you know when you can go?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You link it in that you already do. I don't know, I'm just thinking out loud.
So how are we going to achieve that? So how would you like me to help you achieve your goal? Would you like me to give you a demonstration?
Yeah. Or do you
Or
want
would you like me to drive first and give you a demonstration and a commentary? Or would you like to try it yourself? And I'll, obviously.
I'd like a demonstration. If you could just kind of walk me through how you would do it, and then that'll give me a chance to have a look at what a safe gap looks like, maybe.
Yeah, to sit back and watch, sort of thing.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So join and leaving. How we're going to achieve this? You would like a demonstration from me. I've got a route planned out. There's no point in going into all that because
you would have that, wouldn't you?
Yeah. It's a route that will take about 10 minutes or so, to go right round. So we'll do that, and then we'll discuss after how it went, and then so then the next thing is where we're going, right? What might require the lesson plan to be adapted? So I suppose if there was a safety critical issue, wouldn't there?
Yeah. Or if I'm struggling to understand.
Yeah.
Or perhaps on the first attempt I might have asked for a talk through.
Yeah.
But even with the talk through, I was still struggling. Then a demonstration would have been the adaptation.
Mm-hmm.
So what would you adapt it to in that instance, just in case she asks?
Well, if when you say to the student, right, check your center mirror, your right door mirror, have a quick check of your right shoulder. If they're still struggling to see a safe gap or where they could join, you may just tell them to join when it's safe.
Yeah.
And then on the next attempt, then you may want to say, look, okay, why were you struggling? Perhaps it was because there was just too much going on. They weren't able to have a proper check whilst also maintaining their position on the road, so that made it difficult.
Yeah.
So perhaps they could have a look whilst being in the passenger seat, see if they can identify a safe space. I suppose that could be.
Yeah, so that would be. Would that be adapting the lesson though? I suppose it would, wouldn't it? Because we're doing. Yeah.
Because they're trying to, they're struggling with knowing when to join.
Yeah.
If it helps them to identify a safe gap.
Yeah.
Whilst not
and
actually.
If you adapted it to demonstration from just the talk through, then yeah.
So could you go off and do something that they feel comfortable judging with already?
I guess so.
That be adapting, so they could link it.
I guess so. I mean, if you pull them up on a busy-ish road, maybe,
or even overtake it. I don't know. I'm just thinking.
Yeah.
What we could do with was on a lesson, so they could.
Because joining traffic and overtaking, I suppose it. Yeah, I mean, I suppose it will. There's a crossover there.
Yeah.
Does she mean adapting like that, or does she mean moving away from the subject?
I think it just means changing the whatever you're doing to help them to achieve the goal.
Yeah.
So if by giving them a talk through, that's not worked, then maybe a higher level of support.
Yeah.
Or a different approach, or maybe further explanation. So it doesn't have to necessarily be to do with the the practical side of it. It can be knowledge side of things as well.
Yeah.
Confident.
So are we meant to actually be doing like a role play here?
Oh, we actually. Yeah. I find it more useful like this, to be honest.
I do, to be fair.
Yeah.
It's hard to do it when you're not sat in that situation.
Yeah.
It
When
would,
doing a role play on a Zoom call is just not right.
do you if you sat in a car with someone? If we were all three of us were sat in a car now.
Yeah, it would be more natural. Would be, we could be able to play the role because you've got everything. You're sitting in the car, you're doing it. Whereas, we're all sitting in our houses at the moment, and it's like I can't. I'm not saying I can't visualize what we're doing, but
it's difficult.
Yeah,
So
it is difficult.
if we bring it back, so that's the from the pupil's point of view. That's from the well, when we're in role. But actually, we need to be looking at this thing about maintaining an appropriate and non-discriminatory manner throughout the session. So so I would probably, I don't know, make a comment like, white van drivers or some stereotypical statement like that.
Yeah.
Perhaps.
Yeah.
I mean, the conversation I suppose that you'd need to have with the trainee beforehand is what they understand to be kind of non-discriminatory. And what would be inappropriate sort of behaviour throughout the lesson and how they would deal with it.
Yeah.
Then the other one is to encourage the people to reflect on their own performance at the end of the session. So that's just feedback, isn't it?
Yeah.
So you'd have discussed that with them, then perhaps get them to deal with any of the comments that you might make throughout the session, and kind of making sure that that it fits in with that appropriate and non-discriminatory manner.
Yeah.
And just getting them to, and talking them through, or talking about how you would get them to reflect on their performance at the end of the session. And we've done loads of this.
Yeah.
Throughout all of these sessions, anyway. So maybe
doing it for actual real will make the difference.
Yeah. So you would perhaps follow the plan that we discussed earlier. Maybe they want a full talk through initially, then maybe a demonstration is required. But during that process, as when you're in role, you make a comment, which they have to then resolve.
Yeah. So you're in role and you're you say, oh, look at that, the BMW indicated there.
Yeah.
Yeah, a little. Yeah.
Now, let's be honest, we all do it.
I think a lot. I've learned to keep my mouth shut on it.
Yeah, I'm getting better at keeping my mouth shut.
Yeah. It's difficult because when we were trained to not have any awkward silences. We've only got 30 seconds left,
Have we?
Oh my God. I know, we were trained not to have awkward silences.
Yeah.
And now we're told to shut up and not say anything. I don't, this is what's really confusing me.
But when you do the BTEC, it'll make massive sense, honestly. Change my life.
Really?
Yeah. The way that it's forward, it's so much easier.
Right.
They can actually do a lot for themselves.
Who's a spokesperson? Who's been making notes?
I haven't.
No, really not. Oh, we're so bad, aren't we?
Where did the time go?
I know, 20 minutes that was nearly a whole driving lesson.
Time flies when you're enjoying yourself.
Absolutely. Okay, so we had some nice groups. We'll start with the threes to start with. So we've got Lisa, Penny and Susan together. How did you get on?
Yeah, not too bad. I was the PDI. And I don't think it was too bad because I knew them. So, role playing, we would obviously discussing as you would in the car before we went into kind of roles, and we agreed as a PDI, it was more my timing of instruction. I was worried about my timing of instruction with them approaching an exit slip road and then rejoining back on, for example. So that was our agreed goal.
Okay, good.
For the PDI goal, yeah.
Who was your instructor, Lisa?
Susan.
Cool.
So Penny and I chatted through it as well, and Lisa had said how she would like to get towards her goal was for initially for her to be the pupil and us to be the trainer.
Okay.
So that we could give her a lesson on the dual carriageway to start.
Fabulous.
And then,
Fabulous. Good.
So demonstration, yes?
yeah, after a demo. And then after the feedback session, then Lisa would swap back over and give us the brief and what sort of level that what kind of level of pupil we would be.
Okay.
And what level of support we would need.
Okay. So what type of pupil did you play in order to meet Lisa's goal?
We were going to be somebody who had driven on high speed. We've done 60 mile an hour. We've done junctions coming on to 50s and 60s. So we're aware of how to drive at speed and we're competent, but we just haven't been on the dual carriageway before.
So we needed that encouragement to get the speed up and be able to check our mirrors at the blind spot, make sure it's safe to get onto the dual carriageway from the slip roads.
Very good. Very good. Okay, brilliant. Did you come up with anything that you may have to adapt the lesson plan for?
So we spoke about bringing the speed up and reacting time. So reacting too late or too early to what the PDI was telling us. So that was a little bit more difficult, like different difficulties for her to decide on how to treat the learner at that stage.
Very good. Very good, guys. Well done. Well done. Thank you.
Excellent. Okay, the next group of three was Sue, Susie and Z. I need to put my new teeth in to say that. Sue, Susie and Z. How did you guys get on?
Yeah, we were kind of the same. I played the PDI and Z and Susan were the trainers. Same thing, you know, we decided that it was a pupil that was, you know, fairly new to dual carriageway and they weren't that confident on the joining and leaving, you know, on the slip roads. So I think we initially decided that it was going to be a talk through, but then it didn't go so well. So we had to adapt it to, well, not adapt it, but we, you know, the second time round, after the feedback, we did the demonstration. You know, we decided that, you know, we did the demonstration drive.
Good.
Just so the pupil was able to watch the PDI doing it, so you know they could get a better understanding. Because when you're sitting in the passenger seat, it's much easier to, you know, to take things in rather than, you know, sitting in the driver's seat absolutely terrified coming up to a slip road.
Yeah.
So, so yeah, we did, you know, figure out a way that it may have to be adapted. You know, if it was initially just a talk through, but then we had to adapt it to, you know, a demonstration drive.
Okay. Can I ask what the PDI's goal was?
The PDI's goal was, that's a good question.
She always asks these damn questions just when you think you've done it, and then you're coming to the end, and then she asks you a damn question.
Again, we're thinking out we're thinking about the pupil rather than the PDI.
Okay, because this is a PDI session, isn't it?
Yeah.
So it's great that the people had a goal. Brilliant.
Yeah.
But we need to know what the PDI's goal is. This is their last session.
Yeah.
And they, you know, there's something there they probably want to practice or work on. So we've got to keep that in mind as a trainer.
Delivering, I suppose.
Right.
It's the most common fault with trainers is missing out the PDI.
Yeah.
So that what you're doing as a trainer is you're teaching the pupil via a PDI. Well, you're not. The PDI is teaching the pupil. You're teaching the PDI.
Yeah.
So who was your trainer, Susie?
Z and Sue.
Z and Sue. So Z and Sue were you aware that you weren't establishing the PDI's goals rather than?
We did speak about it because
Okay.
we laughed about it that we need to. It's difficult even now to get your head around it, and we were kind of looking at the notes, and we were kind of angling it towards the sort of maintaining an appropriate and non-discriminatory manner throughout the session.
Yeah.
We thought that was the kind of the focus and the goal
Mhm.
for the session. So we kind of had that as our, not strictly speaking a goal, but that's kind of the direction we were taking within the
Yeah.
session.
Yeah.
And whose choice was that? Can I ask? Was that the trainer's choice or the PDI's choice?
Or the pupil that doesn't exist?
Or the
Yeah.
pupil that doesn't exist?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
It is
Good.
tricky. It is
Yeah.
tricky.
A little bit of learning has taken place there. Yeah.
Yeah.
It is classic, guys. You certainly
It
not
is.
the first ones. Yeah, and it's so easy to do when you're in the car, you know, because we can't forget whose session this is.
Yeah.
Who is actually training? This is not you as a pupil, is it?
No.
Although you want to see those training skills coming from the PDI. But this is
Apparently,
the
BTEC
PDI.
level 4 will explain everything.
Everything. Absolutely everything.
Fantastic. Well done, guys. That's
Yeah,
good.
brilliant. Good effort. Okay, room 2 then. We've got Leon and Scott. So this is the first of our 2s. So which one of you was the trainer? Which one of you was the PDI?
I was the PDI.
Yep, and I was the trainer.
Okay.
Good. Okay.
So as the trainer, Leon, what goals did you establish with the PDI?
Okay, so I started off by asking or saying, okay, so we're working with the last 2 competencies now from the Part 3 assessment sheet, and we're going to use dual carriageways as the platform. And I asked Scott what his goal would be for to achieve this, and he said that the goal would be merging into the left lane. So we established that was the goal.
Okay.
Then I asked him, okay, so, you know, how would you like to go about this today? And have you got a route in mind of, you know, how you'd like to establish this? Okay, so then we agreed
I just
a route.
pause you, Leon. Sorry, and it's probably me, but
Okay.
the PDI's goal is how to do what? How to merge into the left-hand lane.
Safely.
Yes.
What, the PDI doesn't know how
PDI?
to merge into a left-hand lane safely?
Well, my perspective as a PDI is I was thinking this is module 12. So I thought I'll role play someone who's feeling a bit nervous and anxious, having to deliver a lesson
No.
of Leon.
No.
Okay. Okay. So
Right.
what is the goal of the PDI, Leon? Because getting the driver to merge safely into the left-hand lane, that's the pupil's goal,
Yes,
isn't
yeah,
it?
that's pupil's goal, yep.
Yeah. So what is the PDI's goal?
Yeah.
Well, that was my train of thought. As I was thinking, well, if I'm a PDI and we're doing dual carriageways, I thought, well, what would I be most concerned about as a PDI? And I thought, if I was teaching a student, I might struggle with how do I manage the risk element, their speed coming down and getting safely into the left lane. So while I've been thinking, studying for this module, I thought that would probably be a concern. How would I deal with that as an instructor in the car on my own with a real student? So
Okay,
that's
so
why I chose that.
Right.
as-
Can I stop you there for a moment, Scott? Think about what you just said.
Okay. Yeah.
You wanted to know how to what? Sorry, I'm
Right.
I'm
Okay.
relaying it back.
Yeah.
So-
Okay. How to teach that element of the lesson?
How to
I guess.
manage.
How to
manage risk.
That's what you said. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
But that's the goal.
Yeah, that's the PDI's goal, isn't it?
But is that not? Is that not the same thing? Like merging?
No.
So
No.
can you just say out loud what? So merge safely left lane, manage risk.
Yep.
Is it not the same thing if you're on that stretch of road?
No.
No, because you're now
I do hear what
talking
you're
about the
saying.
pupil again. Forget the pupil.
Yeah.
This is about the PDI's learning. What does the PDI want to learn?
What do they want to achieve at the end of this session?
So to summarize it, it is based on I suppose it comes under how to manage the risk, whatever that risk may be, whether it's going into a left lane, a right lane, coming on, coming off, whatever it is. So
It's up to the
fair
trainer
enough.
to decide how to do that, how to role play that.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Not up to you.
And then so that would basically be, so as the instructor teaching the PDI, does that go back to the watch, the ask, the tell, and that kind of stuff? That would be that type of lesson, managing the risk.
Yes.
Right. I get you. Yeah. Okay.
All right.
So it's improving the PDI's skill, not improving the skill of the driver that the PDI is training.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That
Okay.
will be a natural consequence of improving the skill of the PDI.
Right.
Because
Yeah.
once the trainer has got the goal of the PDI, it's then up to the trainer to structure that session to give that PDI the opportunity to practice risk management.
Right.
And that might be joining the dual carriageway.
Might be overtaking. It might
overtaking,
be
it might be
leaving.
leaving, it might be whatever.
Might be maintaining an appropriate speed. It might be following distance.
It's up to the trainer to actually put that together, not up to you.
Because the PDI's need is to be able to manage the risk on faster roads, presumably, yes?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
Me and Leon did have a conversation on the back of this as well about, so if I'm the PDI and Leon now knows he's managing risk, would I as the PDI be in the driver's seat, and would Leon ask me to, without breaking the law, do certain things where I'm asking him to manage that risk? Like how would that?
That's a discussion between you. It could be done either way. The traditional way, you know, if you were going to do it traditionally, then Leon, being your trainer, would be playing the part of the pupil. You would be in the PDI seat, practicing managing the risk.
Right. So Leon would be in a driver's seat then. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So he could get
So
a second away or a second and a half from the car in front, or pretend to overtake when it's
around the platform.
You're not putting the
dual
car in a dangerous
carriageways.
situation. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
Leon has got that horrible double role where he's got to play the part of a pupil to enable you to achieve your goal. So Leon has got to hold in his head what goal you're trying to achieve
Yeah.
and facilitate that learning by delivering an exercise as a pupil that will help you to achieve your goal as a PDI.
And remember what his own goal is as a pupil.
Yes.
So he can help you to help him achieve that goal.
Yes.
Can you record that and let us all have it back?
No, Nick, we do
You've
add-on
got two goals. That's
No.
all you've got to think about. You've got two goals.
no.
You've got the PDI goal and the pupil goal.
Yeah. Yeah, no, Nick, we do add-on sessions at £300 an hour.
So I'm doing
You know, if you want personal additional help on this, you know, it's not a problem.
So with like high risk so like high risk management, so like Scott's asked then about putting in faults, could you do those verbally as the trainer?
Absolutely. Don't
On
do
the move
anything
now.
dangerous. Yes.
Yeah, don't do anything
Don't ever
dangerous.
do anything potentially dangerous.
Yeah.
As a
Pretend to
trainer.
signal to overtake.
Yeah.
Oh,
Or
yeah,
just-
that-
You might say something at least like, "Can I go now? Can I go now?"
Yeah, I'm going to move.
Oh,
now.
I
Is
think
that
I need to
okay?
put my signal on.
Yeah.
But don't do it.
But don't do
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
Yeah. Or, oh, I don't think I'm driving close enough to this car in front.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yes,
Or,
of course.
oh, I think I better slow down and make a much bigger gap ahead of me. Yeah. Again, they're verbal, but you don't actually have to carry them out.
Others, are there? Shall I slow
Because you've
down?
also then got to manage that risk at the same time, haven't you?
Yes.
Yes, because you're not actually doing it if it's
Yeah.
not in a safe way to do it.
Yeah.
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 And
If
obviously
you're,
dual
if you're on
carriageway.
an empty dual carriageway and there are no vehicles behind you and you've checked and made sure, then yes, you could slow down a little to make that gap bigger. You
Yeah.
could demonstrate that in actual, but the likelihood of being on a dual carriageway with nothing behind you is very, 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 very slim at the moment. And
Well, I'm lucky
you
I've
could
got
do
all
it
that.
verbally. Yeah, you could do it verbally.
I mean, it's things like as well sitting in the right hand lane for too long.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's a hard subject, I think, to manage.
Mm. Well, I also wanted to ask something because the first thing you said there was if this is a high risk management. What's the difference between risk management and high risk management?
I think I that's what I associate with the speed, and that the outcome, it can escalate really quite quickly, and obviously the outcome of it could be.
Well, to be fair, it can escalate quite quickly, even at slow speeds. You know,
Yeah.
if you're in the olden days of teaching reverse round a corner and your pupil hasn't looked at the pedestrian that's about to step off the curb, you can't get much higher risk than that. And that's at, you know, half a mile an hour.
Yeah.
So risk management means that there is a genuine, absolute risk. I don't really like the idea of categorizing those risks into, well, this is a moderate-ish risk.
Yeah, no, I think, I mean, in terms of like so like from a trainer's point of view, like you said, being on a, you know, a quiet kind of residential area when we might be learning junctions, it may be easy to put faults in because the area is, you know, quiet, or it's you know, lower speed limits. Whereas I feel putting a fault in on the dual carriageway, it
depends on what's around you at the time, to be fair, Lisa. It
I mean,
really
if it's
does.
empty, then great, but I do definitely think it takes that
and
more.
to be honest with you, you know, even if you are on a quiet estate, you know, things can change very quickly.
Yeah.
You know, if you have started that session off and it is really quiet, and then all of a sudden the school on the corner, you know, you then as a trainer have got to say, look, just come out and roll for a second. I'm just going to take care of this.
Yeah.
And then we'll go back into roll once we're clear.
Yeah.
So it's about being on the ball in your head all the time. You know, if something looks like it's going to move into something which is far more riskier than you intended, then you need to come out, roll, and just say, let me just sort this out, and then we'll talk about that later.
Okay.
All right. It's up to you as a trainer. You know, it rests on your shoulders, really. You've got to keep the car safe. If the PDI doesn't, you have to.
So it is really quite a lot being a trainer, because like you said, you've got your two heads as the trainer and the pupil for the PDI to practice on. And then it's the heightened aspect of, you know, the risk management, because they are still learning that as well.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
You're just on a constant swivel.
It becomes easier with practice, as with all of these things. You know, I mean, all of you can remember back to the days when you were doing your first lessons ever as a driving instructor and how overwhelming it all was. That those lessons you can do today standing on your head whilst thinking about what you're having for dinner tonight, because you're so practiced at them. Yeah.
I say that though, but this course has thrown me, I think. So I'm not doing those lessons stood on my head thinking about dinner, I can tell you that much.
It'll come again, it will, honestly.
It's like going back to that first lesson, I'm thinking, am I doing that right now? What's that?
It's good. It's good because it shakes up what you think you know and puts you in another place. And I like that. I do like that. But yeah, very, very common fault is skipping out the PDI and the PDI's goals and the PDI's needs and what you're helping that PDI to achieve, and going straight for what's the learner learning. It's not about what the learner's learning, it's about helping the PDI with their needs. Well done, guys. So room one, finally, we have the amazing, well, we know who was PDI and who was ADI in this one. So we got Nick as ADI and we had Jeanette as PDI. How did we get on, Nick?
Mate, masterclass. I'm so glad I'm just starting to do the level 4 because, wow. Yeah, I felt like a real sort of like sicko, to be fair.
Oh, bless you.
No, Jeanette was really no, but he was really good because I was thinking, why am I grasping this? Why am I doing? And I'm listening to all the other groups. I'm so glad they was on first, because I don't mean that funnily, but everything that was you've highlighted, and that was highlighting with me. And I was like, right, okay, either I'm really bad at this or I haven't got a hang of this whole course. And yeah, it put it into a really good perspective. The time went like that because I was listening quite a lot and I was thinking, oh, wow. So yeah, I'm pleased I'm doing your BTEC class. Really good salesperson.
And now you know, Nick, why Jeanette has been on these follow-up sessions not just once or twice. This must be about the third time, Jeanette.
I've lost count, Jeanette.
Yeah, at least.
Yeah,
Because you do keep learning, and you know, especially things like this, you know, although it's coming, you know, sort of session 12, and you might think, well, crikey, I wish I knew that earlier. You wouldn't have been able to know that earlier because you wouldn't have had the understanding that you've built up during this course. And although this has now been a light bulb moment for several of you on here about that PDI's goals, it is something that you are now going to think about and remember when you are training PDIs.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's what I was trying to explain to Nick about the fact, just what you'd said about everybody else, you know, that it's the PDI's goals we're looking at, you know, and it is difficult to get your head round.
Yeah,
it is difficult, but you know, because you say, all right, well, we'll do this. And I'm going, no, that's a lesson goal. We need to think about the PDI. But yeah, it was good. It was interesting.
And that third person, isn't it? It's like trying to get that third person in your head. And and understanding that whatever the goal is, you got to hit the 17 competencies within that as well.
Yeah.
And it all makes that goal for that PDI to deliver. And it's
exactly. And it's very easy. It's very easy, Nick, to miss out the PDI because you're good at training people to drive. That's the bit you're all are already very good at. And it's very easy to miss out that PDI's needs and the PDI goals to make sure they're achieving their goal. Yes, Lisa.
So what I've got of this then is we do our lesson structure for the PDI.
Yes.
That demonstrates to them how to do a lesson structure as well, because they get used to that.
Yes.
So then so the practice part is then we go into the pupil stage, and what do we need to do in that to achieve their goal?
Correct.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then you come back out and you do the feedback.
There you go.
Yes.
We do everything we do with a student. We just do it to them as a PDI and become a student.
Yes.
You know, I'm bad now. Obviously, keeping that same lesson structure with from trainer to PDI, the PDI will mimic that from PDI to student.
Yes.
Correct.
Okay.
Just like that.
Just like that. Right, guys. Before we move on, there's a couple of things I just want to run back to. There's me running it back in my head. Leon, you said something about bringing in the last two competencies of the standards check. Yeah. Have we covered those yet then?
No.
Yes, many times.
The last two, yeah. I think they're in this session, aren't they? They come in after we've done this.
Right. Okay. So I shouldn't have said that then.
Nah.
Oh.
You've got 15 other competencies that you could have chosen.
Right. Right. Okay.
Which we haven't done the last two yet.
Right. Yeah. Of course. Yeah. Oh gosh. Yeah.
Although Leon may have done on the last time round, Leon. Yes.
Oh yeah, but that wasn't what. That was incorrect. Yeah.
I also rung an alarm bell, Day.
Well, no, it was just. I just want to confirm with you.
Yeah.
That all of you, that before you go into role, you have to explain to the PDI how you are going to manage the role play. When I do this, I shall be in role. When I do this, I'm going to be out of role. If you want, we're going to try and stay in role, But if you need me to come out of roll, I need you to do this. Okay? Because once you're in roll, guys, you've got to stay in roll. You can't have a conversation as a pupil and a trainer with your PDI. You're either a pupil or you're the trainer, but you can never be both.
Is that where you'd in your goals you'd put like specific your time? So you'd say, right, we're going to attempt to do this 3 and try and keep them in roll for those 3 laps, for example, and then you pull up and do you say, right, I'm out of roll now. So anything
I'm going to try and stay in roll for 3 goes around, and that again is as a pupil, because your PDI should say to you, how long do you want to spend on this, or how many goes round do you want to have a go before we stop and review it. That's what you want to hear from your PDI. Yeah. So once you've got that information, you can then say to them, right, so you've asked to go round 3 times, so I'm going to try and stay in roll. For those 3 times.
Come out of
However,
roll.
if I need to come out of roll, I'll let you know.
And it can be as simple as saying, I'm out of roll.
Yeah. Now, some trainers wear a hat, a different hat. Yeah. So it reminds them they're in roll. Yeah. So they just wear a different hat. As soon as I go and roll, they put a hat on. Yeah. I'm going to come out of roll and take the hat off. Personally, I don't. I just tell them I'm in roll, and I do a timeout if I want to come out of roll, and I ask them to do the same. Timeout. Yeah. But don't let them come out of roll all the time, because they will want to. Yeah, they're going to want to, but don't let them unless it's absolutely desperate. Don't let them come out of roll.
So you could maybe discuss. You could partway through, if they have got like a question, we could pull up as part of the lesson.
You could do, but if they ask you a question as a PDI to a trainer, you're in roll. Let me just finish this. If they ask you a question as a PDI to you as a trainer, you cannot answer it as a trainer.
No, they could write it down. So at the point of them as the PDI, they could direct me as the student to pull up, and they could make a note of their question as the PDI, and then continue the lesson as normal and reflect back on it after.
But don't fall into the trap, guys. It's so easy to fall into that trap. They'll ask you a question, you answer it as a trainer.
I think
you have to answer and say, sorry, I don't
those
know.
rules at the start and say, if you do have something mid-session or mid-roll, pull me up as a student, note it for yourself, and then we'll go back to the student role, and then we'll address it after.
Yes.
They've got they know they can make notes.
You could say that before you go into role. Yeah. That's what I mean about how you're going to manage the role play.
Yeah.
So if you have got a question that pops into your head as we go around, just jot it down, and when we stop, we'll talk about it.
If you've agreed what Lisa just said there, and they forget and they ask you a question, do you just ignore them?
No,
as a pupil.
When you stop, I would remind them. When you come out of role, remind them.
Yeah, but don't ignore
I mean, but while you're in role,
can you
while
say
you're in role, you answer them as a pupil. So if they ask you, oh, did I do that right? You know, well, I don't know. I'm just driving.
Yeah. That's a very good question. I'm not sure of the answer. Shall we address it?
I haven't got a clue. I mean, I'm only a learner.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
All right. You've got to make it as realistic as you can. Yeah.
Yeah.
So change the seat position. Yeah. Lean forward a little bit in your seat. Yeah. Because that makes you feel like a learner. It puts you in that mind frame of a learner. All right. Because you've got to change your driving. You can't drive like an ADI. It's not easy for the PDI to actually get into role play if you're driving like you always drive. Okay, you can drive, badly without making faults, can't you? I have days like that most days.
So things like swerving in your own lane or going too slow, maybe a little bit.
Careful with things like that.
Yeah.
But just a bit lumpy gear changes. They're okay, but they're a bit lumpy. A little bit firmer on the brake when you should have been progressively braking. Not enough to commit a serious or dangerous fault, just a bit lumpy.
With things like mirrors, and so as a trainer, you check them, and then when they gave you the instruction, not check them. So you've checked them for risk management, but as a pupil perspective, you've not checked them.
Mm.
Do things like that. So it's just being a bit of ahead of the game. If you know they're coming at, the direction is going to be turn left at the end of the road, you check your mirrors, and then when they give you the instruction, you don't.
Then it depends what the goal is.
Yes.
The same as when you're teaching, you've got to focus on the goal.
Yeah.
Yeah. Got to focus on the goal.
Just trying to think about if you do need to put faults in, it's trying to think that way of doing them safely at the same time.
Absolutely, and it has to be safe.
Right, we can talk about this for the rest of the day.
We can.
I'm going to have to cut it. Yeah.
Yeah, Di, can I just say that Susan McCormack is doing 2 on-point sessions about role play. That one of them is role play that you can use with your learner drivers, and one of them is role play to use with PDIs, and they are actually up on the website if you want to have a look. I think they're both in May, but they could be interesting for you guys.
Yeah, okay.
Anyway, sorry, Di, to interrupt.
Oh, that's all right. That's fine. That's good. Right, good. So they're going to have lots to reflect on. Yeah. So give them a chance to go back to their action plans so they can just reflect on there. And also, don't forget, you've got a marking sheet to here as well. All right, so you're using a marking sheet for this. So, guys, you've obviously used your guidance notes to put that together. So I don't think you need to read through it, do you? You all right with it? Yeah, good. Okay, all right. Right, so let's move on to our last competencies, Leo. Right, so the first one, how to maintain an appropriate non-discriminatory manner throughout the session. So this is all about rapport, isn't it? Yeah, and we've done quite a lot of rapport with our PDIs, so we can remind them about rapport. What's your understanding of this, guys? Anybody want to?
Nick, you got your hand up.
Well, I had a bit of a funny one on this one, because when I was learning, my trainer was driving along, we was doing a drive, and he said, "Oh, what do you think about white van man?" And I said, "Well, having driven a van for 30 years, they're all a bunch of, and you've got to steer well clear because they're going to screw your day up." And he was like, "You can't say that." He said, you've just been very discriminatory." He said, "You cannot put anyone in a pigeonhole like that." And I said, "Yeah, but that's fair enough." And I felt really bad because discriminatory is like, no. And it's kind of that sort of thing, as I believe. Is that correct?
Yes, it is. Absolutely is.
And I do use that one because I drove a van for a long time, and it's like,
it is very easy, particularly if you've got good rapport with your pupils, to have endearing terms that you might use with those pupils, like calling them numpties when they do things wrong, or saying "good girl" to female pupils. People have been known to fail their standards check while using such terms. You know, innocent terms, they think, when have you ever heard a pupil, apart from leaving them and going somewhere else, say, "I'm sorry, I'll get offended by that"? They're not going to, are they? Yeah, but they're just inwardly, it's going to hurt them. So it says in the driving instructor's handbook, it is important to maintain an atmosphere in which the pupil feels comfortable and is able to express their opinions. Try to create an open and friendly environment regardless of age, gender, sexual orientation, ethnic background, religion, or physical ability. Keep a respectful distance and avoid invading the pupil's personal space. Ask the pupil how they wish to be addressed. Ask a disabled driver to explain what you need to know about their condition. Adopt an appropriate position in the car. Use language about other road users that is not derogatory and that does not invite the pupil to collude with any discriminatory attitude. Avoid touching the pupil, including trying to shake hands, unless it is necessary for safety reasons. Check that it is acceptable to use someone's first name. Avoid commenting on the pupil's appearance or any other personal attribute unless it has a direct impact on their ability to drive safely, such as wearing shoes that make it difficult for them to operate the vehicle's pedals. Right. So that's what it says in the handbook. So what does it say in the guidance notes? It is a conversation, pretty much. So if you want to have a quick read through that, so a short paragraph, it's just a conversation. And they will have watched a video on this as well.
Oh, just quickly on this. One thing that somebody picked up when we were doing some training with one of the trainers we worked with was that he leant over into the space of the learner.
Yep.
And they was like, and the trainee sort of like driving instructor, and they said, you can't do that. Please don't lean over into my space. And I'd never thought about it in like that, but that is really inappropriate anyway.
Yes.
You know, when you read it like there, it's you got to pretend there's like a wall down there, unless you've got
absolutely from the gear lever and handbrake upwards, just this wall. Yeah. And if you ever want to go into that, then you have to ask permission.
Yeah.
I've got
there have been instructors that think it's appropriate to reach across the pupil to get their seatbelt and put it on for them.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean,
or put their arm around the back of the chair.
Oh yeah.
No.
So I had one where like my door mirror, the mechanism was really awkward. And so after a while of them trying, I say, sorry, do you mind then if I just point to it? And they're like, no, that's fine. And you can see that I say, you can slide back, that's fine. Let me just point to what I need you to do. And you have to clear it. But I've been on the receiving end of actually a pupil discriminating in the car, obviously against same sex, not realising that I'm married to a woman. And that's really quite awkward then.
Yeah,
right. Yeah.
Because see, not everybody agrees with that view. Yeah. And it's quite open for me. So, they must have said something and I was like, the whole lesson then I kind of felt like I was just slumped there and I couldn't wait to get them out of the car. It's horrible.
Did you sack them off?
Well, to be honest, Lisa, in that position, I might have been tempted to say, well, actually, not everyone agrees with that view. And my wife doesn't agree with it either, but and just leave it there.
Definitely didn't have them back in the car. It was it was interesting because obviously it's drilled into us to remain professional, but we forget that there's also other people that don't agree with our lifestyle choices and stuff, and that kind of cut then. So that was one that didn't last in the car.
Wow. Yeah, no.
Yeah, because it's our environment as well, though, isn't it? We want to feel comfortable. I never want to wake up. I've been in the jobs where I've woke up and not wanted to go. I don't want to wake up and not want to teach someone.
No.
So it does. I can understand why they would feel a certain way if we were to make a comment.
Yeah.
And being a female instructor, I've had loads of women come from male instructors. Unfortunately, it has been where they've made comments about, although those leggings look good on you today, and makes them feel like that, and it's awful. And these are like 17, 18-year-old women.
Exactly. Yeah.
Mm.
Good. No, that's a really good example. That's really good.
Mm.
Right. Any other questions or comments we want to talk about on that one? We're all okay. Good. All right. All right. So the last one then in this, or the last one of module 12, is how to encourage the pupil to reflect on their own performance at the end of each session. So this is one of your feedbacks, isn't it? Of your 3 feedbacks. This is really just doing what we do at the end of every 10 minutes of driving. You know, remind what was your goal, what went well, what didn't go so well. It's about, the DVSA do like to see ADIs using reflective logs. We use them in the course. The action plans are reflective logs. Yeah. But all a reflective log is your pupils' views, their thoughts, what went well, what didn't go so well. Is there anything that still needs to be developed in this area, or what's your goal for the next lesson? So this is about reviewing their goals and making a plan for the next lesson. It only takes 3 minutes, that's all. Not long. All right. Okay, so again, if you'd just like to have a quick read through that, it's a very, very quick one. So we can see, you know, that exercise on dual carriageways is going to take up most of this session, because the last 2 are just short conversations. Okay. Right, so make sure you sign off the course books. What to practice when they go home: summarize the session, complete the action plans, ensure the trainee knows exactly what and how they need to practice to develop. This is the last session before the trainee moves into module 13. Discuss where the trainee feels they are up to and whether more sessions will be beneficial. Sign off the session, the ticket course book, record of progress. If the trainee is going on a training license, you will now be able to complete the DVSA form 21T, ADI 21T. Okay. Ensure that, you know, with this course, sometimes the hours just fall outside of the 6 months. All right, because their training has to be done within the previous 6 months before applying for the training license. So if they're going on a training license, if you've got a session that just falls outside, just bring the date in. So it's in the last 6 months. All right. If it falls a long way out, then you might need to do an extra session to bring them in. All right. So the dates on that 21T must fall within the previous 6 months. Okay. Right. So the training license has been sent off with. They will need to send off a 21T with that and a form called the ADI 3L. And that is if you are sponsoring that PDI on a training license. If they're going to a different training company, then that company will have to fill out the 3L.
What was that? Sorry, what was the other form for the
The ADI 21T.
Yeah.
And the ADI 3L.
ADI 3L.
You know, copies of those from the .gov website. They're all there.
Can I just ask, if they're not going to go with a driving school, what does that ADI 3L?
Right. If they're not going on a training license, Susan, then they don't need to fill any of that out. They could just apply for their part 3. And you can use module 13 to get them ready for that part 3.
Right.
Like yourself, I believe it was you.
Yeah, that's what I did. Yes, that's why it's a bit
Exactly.
unfamiliar.
Yeah. So they don't want to go to a training license. That's fine. You don't have to fill out any of those forms. They just apply for their Part 3 if they haven't done so already. And
So if they were
then,
going on a pink license, they would be, sorry, a
yeah.
trainee license.
Both of those forms are only applicable for the condition of the training license. If they're not going on a training license, they don't need it.
Could they? Excuse me. Sorry. Could they sit a Part 3, their first attempt, and if they were unsuccessful, could they then apply for a trainee license?
Yeah, they
and
can.
then do their other 2 attempts.
I failed my first 2 attempts at Part 3 without a trainee license, and then went on a trainee license and was successful on my 3rd attempt.
Okay.
So yeah, absolutely.
Susan, how many hours does somebody need before they take their Part 3 if they're not going on a training license?
I don't actually know.
I don't think there's any, is there?
Yeah, because I don't remember there being any specific.
No, 0. They don't have to do anything.
So
the,
I just
the only reason, the only reason that these hours are mandatory is because the DVSA has not seen them instruct. So they need to know that at least they've had a standard amount of tuition before charging the general public. Right. Whereas if they go straight for their green, they've seen them instruct. They know that they're good enough to go and charge money to the public. So that's why there's no requirement for training, only passing the test if you don't go on the trainee license scheme.
That
but
makes sense.
To go on the trainee license scheme, they need to know that they've had at least 40 hours of training within the previous 6 months that's signed off by their trainer.
And then on their trainee license, it's another 20, is it? Or
during the first 3 months, yeah.
Which is what
Or
Module
supervision.
13 covers.
Yeah.
I was going to say, can I ask a question about the 3L form as well? You're saying 3L forms, if we're sponsoring them, can you just clarify what you mean by that?
Right, if they're joining your school, yeah,
right,
you're classified as sponsoring their trainee license.
So we're looking after them.
They can't start up on their own on a trainee license.
It is.
Yeah, they have to have an ADI who sponsors them.
And then once green, they can go independent, can't they?
Yeah, absolutely.
And we're not allowed to advertise while they're on a pink badge, are we?
You are. Can advertise.
Yeah,
they're not.
They can't advertise.
Yeah,
so could I, now that I've got my website, if I have someone in a different area, so I'm here in Kirkcaldy, Glenrothes, they're in, say, Dunfermline. So could I put something on my website to say that I cover that area, but without mentioning that individual?
Exactly. You just don't mention their name, that's all.
Okay.
Okay, so obviously with my wife training, she's going to do auto, so I can advertise I've got an automatic instructor available.
Yes, you can.
Yes.
But she can't advertise.
No.
Yeah, but we're going to use one social media page for the business anyway.
Yeah.
So it'll all be grouped on one.
Excellent.
That's fine.
And as I said last session, you know, when they do apply for their training license, make sure they tick the correct box. Yeah, check it. Make sure they don't check the box saying supervisory. If they do that, then that means you've got to supervise at least 20% of all their lessons in the 6 months of their training license.
And if you accidentally tick it, you're bound by it. You can't change it.
Once it's gone, it's gone.
What would that mean? So we'd have to sit in on 20% of their lessons.
Yeah, for 6 months. Or until they qualify.
And you have to record that.
Otherwise they do these further 20 hours.
That's correct.
And then they go and teach.
Yeah.
No.
They're teaching
while they're teaching.
Yeah, I mean, we don't have to supervise, do we?
No.
We just have to do the additional 20 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is what we're going to talk about now, because we're going to move to module 13.
Okay.
So let's go back to the course books. We'll go back to page 8. And they will watch a webinar on what is entailed in module 13. So this will be triggered when you send in your feedback for module 12. Okay. So let's have a look at module 13 in the course book. Okay, so module 13, content. Module 13 consists of exercise 10, SWOT analysis, a part 3 overview, session 1, observed session, session 2, training and development, session 3, an observed session, session 4, training and development, and session 5, observed lesson. Then it says observed sessions. If you're on a training license, your trainer will come out with you and observe you delivering a lesson to one of your pupils for an hour, and then spend the rest of the time developing your instructional practices. If you're not on a training license, you have the following options. You can teach a friend to drive, teach your trainer's pupil, or use role play. The training and development session and observed session will be followed up with a training and development session. One of these will focus on the lesson structure and delivery, and the other will focus on managing the risk during the lesson. Exercise 10, the SWOT analysis. Complete exercise 10, SWOT analysis, so that you can identify your strengths and weaknesses as the opportunities and threats to your successful business as an ADI. And then you have marking sheets. The module 13 contains part 3 assessment sheets for your trainer to mark whilst observing a session. Also action plans to record your development needs. And then we turn over the page and we then have exercise 10, the SWOT analysis. We have the part 3 overview. We have something that you should recognize now. On page 108 in my book is a model for goal setting and risk management, and an explanation of how it works. So remember, we went through that. It's there for you to have a look at. It's all in your course book. And then after that, we then have session 1 observed lesson. So when you observe this lesson, and I'll go through that when we get to the guidance notes, but when you observe this lesson, you are focusing on lesson planning and teaching learning strategies. Okay, that's where your focus is. You're looking at that. So how are they actually putting that lesson together and structuring it, and how are they implementing the teaching and learning strategies? And there is a marking sheet there with you'll recognize as the competencies, and all you need to do is just put some comments or whatever in there regarding those. And then they have an action plan for that observation. And then turning over the page, we then have the training and development session, which is based on the observation that you just did. All right. And then an action plan for session 2. And then turning over the page, we then have a third, a second observed lesson. And this one, the trainer is focusing on their risk management. And an action plan for that observed lesson. And that is then followed up for session 4, a training and development session based on that observation. And an action plan And then finally another observe session, and this is really the whole caboose. All right, so you're looking at the whole thing, followed by an action plan, and that is the end of those 20 hours. So it's 5 4-hour sessions. Okay, now I do it slightly differently, but I'll tell you that when we go into the guidance notes, because these this module 13 is not written in stone. As long as the 20 hours are delivered, you can deliver it however you want to deliver it, provided there are some observed lessons in there, because the advantage of that is they get used to somebody sitting in the back marking them, which is obviously going to happen on their part 3 anyway. So I would say, you know, do the observed lessons definitely, but you might want to, you know, mix the times up a little bit. And then you've got Unit 6 from the DVSA National Standards to finish off, and then a page saying congratulations. All right, so that is a course book for module 13, and now what we're going to do is head towards the guidance notes, and I will tell you how I use it and how it works best for me, but do it how you want to do it. So, module 13 and the guidance notes. It gives you detailed instructions there of what you're looking for and how to go about it. The way that I do this myself is I get an extra observation session in. I meet my PDI half an hour before his driving lesson. I have a conversation with him about the pupil he's chosen to take on this observed lesson, what it is that they're working on, and what he's going to be focusing on. So I'm getting a goal from him about what he wants to work on this session. And on the first session, it will be something to do with lesson planning or teaching and learning strategies. We then go and meet the pupil. I introduce myself and I let the pupil know that I'm not interested in them. I'm just interested in their instructor and how they deal with the pupil. And I sit in the back behind the pupil and I ask the PDI before we get in the car, how much input do they want from me? I give them options. I say I can sit in the back in silence, I can be available for you to ask me questions, or I can input more if you want me to. Which would you prefer? So I get that clear before we get in the car. If they want you to be silent, be silent. But being the most senior person in the car, the final risk management comes down to you. If the pupil isn't managing the risk and the PDI isn't managing the risk, then you have to. You must. One of my PDIs nearly dropped me off in Chichester Quay once, turning his pupil round, and we almost went over the side.
Holy
Nice.
So keep your eyes open, because it does happen. Never seen me move so fast in life. Okay, and then the second session again, you do exactly the same. Meet them half an hour before, and what I normally do is I spend about half an hour after the session discussing with them what went well, what didn't go so well, and then I go home and write out some written feedback and send it off to them. So what I do is I actually do, instead of doing 3 observational sessions, I do where are we? I do 2-hour session for the observation. So that's half an hour before, an hour's observation, half an hour afterwards. And then that will be followed up by a 3-hour training session. Yeah. and I do that 4 times. Yeah, which gives me 4 observational lessons. Because it gives an extra training session after looking at all of it. Excuse me. Okay, so rather than doing 5 4-hour sessions, I'm doing
4 lots of 2 hours and 4 lots of 3 hours.
Thank you. I lost my math. Yes, Janet.
I think the PDIs benefit from the observation, because then when you're doing your kind of training or your training sessions afterwards, you know, you can reflect on what happened and why it happened, and, you know, discuss, you know, how things can be turned around as well.
Equally, Jeanette, it gives them that experience of having somebody in the back,
yeah,
whilst they're delivering, because that's what they've got to have on their part 3.
Yeah, and it also gives the pupil a chance to have somebody in the back as well, because their competence drops by about 20% as soon as somebody sits in the back with them.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Sorry, how do you deal with if a student doesn't want you in the back?
That's not your problem. That's up to the PDI to arrange it with their student, and for the student to agree to have you in the back.
And if they don't?
Well, they have to find
you wouldn't
different
have
people.
that student.
So you just have to find a student that was willing.
Yeah.
That's not your responsibility, Lisa, it says.
Again, sometimes, you know, you can offer them, you know, because you are in training, you can say, because my trainer's going to sit in the back, we're going to do a training session where they're observing me, and I'm happy to give you this lesson at half price. You know,
or they're a new instructor in the area. I'm just showing them where they're going.
Yeah, exactly. It could be anything like that.
Susan.
Yeah, I'm just saying, when I was doing that particular part, if it was a pupil and it was my assessment, I didn't charge the pupil. And they loved that because it was a free lesson. And it gave them the benefit of having the examiner there, sort of along with their tests. So they're all keen to do it.
Now, so the other thing is, do you have to declare that you're on a trainee license if anyone asks? Because I never got asked when I was on my trainee license, you know, they never ever questioned it. But I was reading on one of the instructor forums, obviously someone must have asked about the license, and she said she was on a trainee license, and then the student didn't want a trainee instructor anymore.
Okay. I mean, they are licensed to give instruction. At that point, they are fully trained and they're licensed to give instruction. If somebody asks them about their license, yes, they have to say they haven't taken their final exam yet, but they have taken all the training required.
Okay, so licensed to give instruction.
They are licensed to give instruction. Yeah, they haven't got a green license yet, but that comes after taking their final exam. But you have to declare it if somebody asks. You can't say, "Oh no."
Yeah, see, I never had anyone. I was in the red, and I didn't get. My price was the same as an ADI and everything, and no one ever questioned it. But when I read it on one of the forums, I just thought, "Oh, that's."
Yeah, no, if asked, you absolutely should declare it. And again, I never got asked. The question that I found most awkward to start with was when people said to me, "How long have you been doing it?"
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And I didn't really want to say 1 week. So what I used to reply was too damn long. Is the answer, and I would laugh, and they would laugh, and that would be the end of the conversation. You know, I just wouldn't give them an answer at that point. If pushed, I'd tell them. But you know, they're just, you know, thinking of things to chat to you about rather than actually desperately want to know how long you've been doing it.
That's true. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And the other thing you can do at that point as well is you can say, well, I started my training 18 months ago, you know, which is true. Yeah. And prior to that, I was doing X. And, you know, that's enough again for them to, you know, to be satisfied with the answer they got.
Yeah.
Look.
Can I ask? Oh, yeah.
Nick first, hang on, Leo.
Yep.
Sorry, going back to what Lisa was saying, it's a little bit strange when people do ask you how long you've been doing it, and also, I was slightly different because I did mine with BSM AA, and we were charged at a slightly lower rate, so everyone knew we were a PDI before they booked us. They didn't, and so that question didn't really come up because we was about £3 or £4 cheaper per hour than an ADI. So that sort of covered that conversation.
Yeah, different people do it different ways.
Yeah.
Companies do it different ways.
Yeah. And, you know, it's, I don't know, I always, whenever anyone asks me sort of questions like that, how long have you been doing it, or training or changing jobs or anything like that, I always use I'm quite lucky because I've got a 24-year-old daughter. So she's been through sixth form, you know, like, and then uni, and then and so you sort of talk to them about, you know, retraining and learning and doing, you know, and you sort of get a conversation going about those sort of different things, and then you can diversify away, and it's just like them training to do their job that they want to do at uni, and you're diversifying through life. And yeah, it's strange questions, but it's, yeah, I never had that because we were charged at lower rate.
Yeah. Leon, did you have something you wanted to ask?
Yeah, I just wanted to find out about the audit registration, because I found that some of the inquiries I had asked me if I was audit registered, and I'm not audit registered, and it kind of, they didn't seem as keen, where there are other audit registered instructors. And so what's the deal with that? I know it's not a compulsory thing you have to do, but it's probably recommended, right?
The DVSA are only recommend audit trainers.
Yeah.
You don't have to be audit, but it's a good thing to have, Leon.
Yeah. Okay. Is there a test involved in regards to getting that?
Yes, there is. Yeah. And in fact, when you become audit registered, they've just changed it now, because I just missed it, because when you become audit registered, you no longer take any standards checks as an ADI.
Right.
You only take an audit, but you have to be A grade.
Yeah.
To be audit. Yeah.
But that doesn't make you brilliant at talking to people, does it? It just means you can't. You might be able to teach a learner, but trying to teach a teacher is very different.
Yeah.
So you have to, when you do your audit, you have to take a PDI with you and deliver a session.
Right. So I suppose you need the experience, really, then, don't you, to really get.
You need some practice.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so it's not a short-term goal, then this is more of a long-term goal, then, I suppose.
And so
it depends how long you think long-term is. You know, I mean.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's just months. Like, yeah.
You know, if you're not a grade A instructor at the moment, then you can still request a standards check to improve your grade if you're wanting to go on to audit. So if you've just recently become a grade B and you've missed an A by a few marks, and you think, well, that's it, that I'm not going to be able to have a chance for another 4 years, that's not the case, because they do want driving instructors to develop. So they will advance you a standards check if you're looking to go on to then take the audit qualification as well.
But if you're already a grade A, then it's simply you've got to take a PDI.
Yeah.
You've got to take a PDI. Okay.
Yes.
All right. Thanks for that. Yep.
And we do have, you'll be pleased to know, we do have audit training coming up in a few weeks' time, or maybe a few months' time. I think Susan again is going to be delivering that. That's a day's training session if you do want to know more about audit.
And it's all on the website, isn't it?
It's all on the website.
Of course. Of course.
Sorry, just on that subject, you said they don't have any standards check anymore, so they don't see you teaching a pupil. How often do they have the audit checks where they watch you teach a PDI?
They're the same as standards check. It used to be you do a standards check every 4 years and an audit every 2.
Right.
But now all they're doing is, it's just if you become audit registered now, then that will replace your standards check.
Once in the lifetime of each badge.
Oh, okay.
But if you fail an audit, then you have to then take a standards check to become A grade again before you go back on the audit again. So once you're on that audit, you have to keep passing it. Otherwise,
you do get 2 attempts.
You get 2 attempts.
Yeah, if you fail your audit standards check twice, your third one is a standards check.
Thank you. That's a better way of saying it, Sarah.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. That's interesting. What happens to an ADI if they fail their third standards check? Are they took off the register?
Removed from the register. There is an appeal process, and some ADIs have managed to get a 4th attempt.
And so
the appeal service, but pretty much 3 strikes, you're off the register.
And obviously, if you fail your part 3, then you have to wait 2 years from the date of your theory pass.
Correct.
But what happens if you fail your standards check and you come off the
There is
register?
no waiting time. You can start qualifying straight away.
Okay, so you have to go back and do the part 1, part 2, and part 3 again.
Yeah.
Okay.
So do they have to stop teaching immediately, or do they have to write a letter on?
It's official. As soon as the registrar has written to them and said that you're removed, until that date, they can continue teaching.
Right. Okay, that's good to know.
All right, guys.
Yeah, shit.
Good. Okay. Well, sadly, that brings us to the end. Hello.
It's almost the end, Di. I've got one more thing to ask these lovely, lovely people. And that is, if you have actually enjoyed this training and you've enjoyed the follow-up sessions, please would you write us a review? I'm going to stick it in chat now, and there is a link there. If you can copy and paste that link, or go there immediately and say how wonderful, especially I have been. I mean, obviously Di's helped a little bit, and, Graham and Susan on the previous, they might have done a bit, but, if you could write something fabulous about me in particular, or failing that, the follow-up sessions in general, that would be lovely and very, very much appreciated. A bit like you guys, you rely on recommendation, you rely on good testimonials from your students, and that we also rely on as a company. So if you have got a chance, just leave us an honest review. And if it's bad, then I'll just bring you up and swear at you. All that non-discriminatory stuff will be out the window, and I'll be round. I've got all of your addresses because I posted to you the course book, so I can come round.
No, I just want to say, and I don't say this all the time, but I have had a fantastic time with you guys. It's so interesting seeing things from other people's points of view, and I learn something every time I deliver these. Every time. Yeah. As I said, I've been doing it 40 years. That's what I love about the job. You never, ever, ever stop learning. Ever.
Very true.
So if you've enjoyed it as much as I have, then you've had a great time. So I just want to say thank you. It's always to see people come back again, Leon and Jeanette. It's always lovely to see you. Come back as many times as you want. You'll be welcome with open arms. It'll be really good to see you. All right, see you.
Before everyone goes,
if I'm not here, then Jeanette will be.
Before everyone goes, Susie put in the chat when she left about WhatsApp group. Did anyone set up a WhatsApp group for everybody? Because I've missed a few.
Yeah, we've got Z put your number in, and
brilliant.
Someone else's. So we're just waiting for Susie she's admin only, so she just needs to put you guys in.
Lovely. Thank you very much. Thanks, Z.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you,
guys.
everyone.
See you on the next one.
Take care.
You know where we are.
Thanks, everybody.
Absolutely. Bonus.
Take
care.
Thank you.
Bye.
I'm going to enjoy my cake now.
Oh, nice.
Oh, yeah. Happy birthday. Hey.
Happy birthday.
Thank you.
Yay. Happy birthday.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.